Why do you want me to speak?
Amanda, did you have to go to the waiting room to log in?
It didn't even give me a code. Like it didn't request for the code.
I
It
see
just
your thing is moving, but I can't hear you. Hold on. This is good we're testing it because why can't you hear me?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Can you chat to me and tell me if you can hear me?
Hold on.
Oh, no.
Can you hear me now?
Mm.
Gosh dang it. What is
Mm.
You're excited about Sunday?
You're unmuted.
Go back open.
Can you try talking again?
Can you hear me?
Nope, that didn't help. Wait for it. Maybe I figured it out. Nope, sound is on. Now try speaking. Oh,
Can you hear me now?
yes, I fixed it. Oh, thank you for your help troubleshooting that.
Yeah. Yep. And that chat is turned off too because I can't do chat either. So
You should be able to chat the host.
if I click on it and click host, I have to invite you to chat with you.
Oh, you have to invite me. How interesting. Okay.
But I didn't ask for a code. I literally just went to the link and it popped in and it said host, or I was like, well, I could be early, but it said that you just joined and yeah, so I was technically in the waiting room.
Okay. I must have clicked the wrong thing when I created the meeting. Thank you for that heads up too.
You're welcome.
Solved a bunch of tech problems. I appreciate you.
It's all good. You're welcome.
All right, I think that's, can you hear me now? I got nothing on this end. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you guys on? Don't say anything. How now? How about now? Do we have sound? No. Be patient.
We are just waiting a couple minutes on one board member for those of you on Zoom, so we will begin in a moment.
Hey, sound test. You can hear me, huh?
Try again.
Gene, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to start recording and then you can start the, has everybody pushed their
Okay,
buttons?
everybody have your green light.
Mine's
Okay.
green.
Okay, I think we're all green. Okay, it is 5:36 p.m. and we are going to convene our work session. So from there, I think, Bob, it's all you now.
Wow, that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
So if I can get Courtney to put up the slides and I'll walk around a little bit because I seem to talk better on my feet and moving around. What I normally do in this training is just go ahead and go to the next slide, Courtney, is I go through introductions and I want to do that really fast because I know that you're sort of on a schedule trying to get this done in about 90 minutes. And Irvi would understand that this was an all-day session for an attorney, and you're getting a former Parks and Recreation guy's version of this in 90 minutes.
So I think it should be faster with you, Bob.
Yeah, it should.
Right?
It
There was
should.
a lot of attorney talk.
There was a lot of attorney talk, but we're going to do introductions, and I want you to be thinking about this question. 3 questions for you. How long have you served on the board? Why you serve on the board? And what is the number one thing you want to get out of today's training? So when we come back to you, be ready for the answer on those. We're going to go over just information about special districts in general, how they operate, what they're all about, why we have them. We're going to talk about the district authority and the board authority, where that comes from and where's those limits at. We're going to talk about public meetings. It's a big deal for you and for all special districts and all governmental agencies. We're going to talk some about ethics, and then we're going to concentrate the latter part of the discussion today about board staff expectations, how that all should work. And then there's some other future training opportunities that you can attend if you'd like. And then hopefully I can answer some questions at the end of things. One of the things I do want to start with is that SDAO, Special District Association of Oregon, is providing this training for free to the district this evening. They're covering this cost, my time and preparation and all that. So that's a benefit. Plus, because you're going to sit through this 90 minutes with me and hopefully not get too bored, you're going to get a 2% discount on your general liability insurance. So I don't know what that amount is. I didn't look it up before I left, but anything's better than.
Does it make it 4%? Because when I went to the training, that was a 2%, I believe. Now this one's 2%.
It might be. I think there's up to
4%.
5. I think there's 5 areas that you can participate in to get the credit. So you might be at 4%. We can find out.
Bob, you just saved us $1,000 after this 90 minutes. So thank you.
Well, hopefully now, maybe it's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So let's talk about it. Let's go through introductions. Gene, I'm going to start with you just because you're out in Zoom land. Tell me how long you served on the board, why you serve on the board, and if you could say one thing that you'd like to get out of tonight's discussion.
So I think I'm going on year 3 of serving on this board, and why I serve on this board, sometimes I wonder, but it all started with a ad that I saw in the Madras Pioneer that there was a vacancy that needed to be filled. I was recently retired. I had worked with the previous executive directors and I had concerns as to where my tax dollars were going. So I decided, sure, I'll volunteer and serve my community. What was that third question, Bob?
If you just had to have one thing that you would get out of this discussion tonight, what would it be?
Oh gosh, there's so many. One thing. How about how about we'll make it short. How about procedures? Meeting procedures.
Meeting procedures. Okay. I'll try to remember that as I go through. Dr. Janelle.
Hey, Bob.
Hi.
So I started on the board in 2015. So 10 years ago, I originally started on the board. There was an open position and I formerly taught swimming lessons and was a lifeguard for over 7 years throughout high school and college. And then I was an active lap swimmer at the time. And that's partly why I moved here, was to have somewhere where I could lap swim. And then I also have kids that are really involved in the district, both swimming and previously recreation. I also prescribe water therapy for my patients to use the pool. So it's a really important part of my career here, to have the pool available to my patients, and the overall health of the community. I think it's a really vital part of our community. So those are all of those answers. And I think for this, I think it's important that we learn as a board together with you here. I think it's really important to have an open time for questions too, for some of the things that are related to what you're going to be teaching us. So
I'll try to save some time. Frank?
I think it's about 10 months. I replaced a board member that retired, and it's all Gene's fault. What I bring is I was a HVAC contractor for 30 years. The building facility is in terrible repair through no fault of our own. I was also a coach for almost 30 years, youth coach, parent. And so that's my areas of experience.
Right.
And then for the training, I just hope to learn how to stay out of trouble.
Okay, well, I can help you with that. Irving?
I've been on the board probably less than a year. I'll say less than a year. And the reason why I joined the board is because I wanted to honestly see what was happening with the pool. I wanted to help save the pool. You know, I thought it should be open more. So that's why I joined the board. Instead of just talking about things, I decided that I needed to get involved.
Okay.
You know, not just be a mouthpiece on Facebook like I was.
Okay,
So I
very good.
admit I was.
Very
So,
good.
but since then I've changed, got on the board, and I want to save the pool. You know, I think it's a great facility, needs a lot of work. There's a lot of things going on, but I think it's worth saving and trying to do my best to help save that. I've been a youth coach also for about 35, 36 years, baseball mostly. I don't even know if there's really any other sports other than baseball. So,
Oh, boy.
so been involved in the community for many, many years.
So what would you like to get out of tonight?
More, I think today, more like Gene was saying, procedural
Okay,
things, just to learn how to run, since I am the chair, learn how to run the board a little more efficiently and, you know, follow all our rules and regulations, which I'm really new to. So.
okay.
Yeah.
And Rebecca?
I've only been on for 3 months.
Okay.
And why I wanted to be on the board has to do with the fact that I'm new to the community. I consider it new, less than 3 years. Moved from out of state from Illinois, retired, and my kids live in the state. So the big attraction was in Madras was the pool. And really, I used to swim when I was in college, and I started doing it again and fell in love with swimming. So when the opportunity came up, I decided that it would be another good way to get involved in the community, because the only other involvement I've had is really volunteering at the food pantry at weekly. So this became my major connection and love in this community. And so I really joined to really support it.
Okay, great. What would you like to get out of tonight?
I am just curious about the whole SDAO, you know, what its support that it gives to the pool. I'm here just to learn and be educated,
Okay.
because I want to be an educated community member as well.
So Courtney, how long have you been the executive director?
I have been the permanent executive director for 5 years, and I was
Okay.
the interim for a year before that.
What would you like to get out of today?
I think that the board can learn about running an efficient and transparent meeting. Would be following the rules
Okay.
that we get to follow as a public organization.
Well, that's the latter half of all that, but everything sort of builds up to that as we go through. Let's go to the next slide. And And before you do that, one of the things I want you to know is that I've been involved with the Park and Recreation District here for many different times since I retired it was nearly 9 years ago. And everything from doing some strategic planning to doing some mentoring and doing some work with your staff. So I was happy to come back here. And one of the things that I have cherished since my first visit here back in 2017, I think, was you just completed an initial strategic plan and you had a mission and a vision statement. And I want you to feel really good about what this says. I know that it may have changed some, but I've used this vision statement in working with other organizations when they're doing strategic planning. I want you to feel really good about it. It's not on the screen, but I want you to hear this. The MACRD's vision: to be the hub of a vibrant and healthy community. When I think about a vision and I look out, what can we be? What can we do? What are we? I tell people that is a perfect vision. You can tie so much to that. I want you to be excited about that as a potential. And if your vision is something else a little bit different than that now, let's strive toward that. I know that's not part of the training, but as a former Parks and Recreation professional, I find this as a key to you and the staff seeing a roadmap ahead to success. When you feel good about where you're going and what you're striving to be. That's my preaching for today. I'll get back to teaching. So you want to know what a special district is? Some people, when I work with small rural organizations, special districts, sometimes they think that they're still that club or they are a nonprofit organization. They don't even realize that they're a form of government and they have to comply with government rules and regulations. And a lot of that deals with being transparent. A lot of that's dealing with minimizing risk to your patrons and to your citizens. Those things are all in place. There's over 1,000 special districts in the state of Oregon, 34 different types. You have several here besides the Park and Recreation District, the Fire District. You used to have the Health District, which ran the ambulance service, and now it's combined. There's several irrigation districts and water districts, all sorts of things out there. Vector control districts. We'll go see some of those in a minute. And the thing about special districts is that they can be outside a city or they can be inside a city. They can accomplish both. They're multi-jurisdictional when it comes to their boundaries. And all of them have statutory authority to sign contracts, employ staff, acquire real property, all the things listed here that you would see from a normal government. The one thing that we do not have that a county and a city will have is most of the time we do not have authority to do anything but property taxes and fees and charges. We can't do a transient room tax, for instance. We don't have any authority to do those things. The city counties, they do, right? That's one of the differences. Go ahead. So I said there was, this slide is we must have updated somewhere along the line because somewhere along it says 900. But there's over 1,000 now, and you can see all these different types of districts, 34 of them, everything from an airport district to a soil and water conservation districts and irrigation districts. And they're spread throughout the state. And you can look on that map, there's a lot of them in the valley. And then they get spread out across Eastern Oregon and Central Oregon. But you can see where all those are. And there are, I don't know, what's it say for fire district, fire protection, 252 fire districts in the state, 53 park and recreation districts. So you're one of 53. You are, if I look at the list of who park and recreation districts are, you're probably in the middle tier as far as size. And you probably think you're small, and you are, but compared to a Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District in Beaverton, you are small. But when you compare yourself to Doofer or to Bonanza, those are very small. They don't even have a staff of any type. So quite a variety. A little bit about SDAO. Is to assist special service districts in providing cost-effective and efficient public services to the people of Oregon. We were formed in 1979. We're very similar to, if you're familiar with, Association of Oregon Counties or League of Oregon Cities. We are sort of the voice for special districts at the legislature and at the federal level now as well. We provide trainings like this, but we also have a whole risk management side of things that comes out and looks and helps districts look at their infrastructure. What can we do? What are we doing from a safety plan? All these types of things to help out. One of the reasons why they're offering this service to you today is because it's a risk management tool for them. If we have a well informed boards and they understand the procedures on how they work and what they're all about, there's less chance of us having somebody suing the organization, which saves us all money because you're in a pool with a bunch of other special districts. We have 12-member board. Your closest board member is Jennifer Holland, who is the executive director of the Sisters Park and Recreation District. So she serves on that board. I served on that board for 12 years, 2 years as the president of that board. And then we'll mostly talk about Special District Association of Oregon. We have this old other arm. We had to separate our insurance business from all of our consulting and all the other things we were doing, a training piece, and created Special Districts Insurance Services. That's who your insurance is with. But SDO manages that on behalf of that trust. Okay. You don't need to know much more about me other than I spent 38 years in Parks and Recreation Executive Management. My last job before I retired 9 years ago was a superintendent at Willamette Lane Park and Recreation District in Springfield. I'm also currently on the board at the Sisters Park and Recreation District. I started there about a month before I retired on that board. So I've sit on both sides of this table, both as a staff member, but also as a board member. So I've got a better feel today than I did 10 years ago about what your seat feels like when you're having to make decisions and what information you need. I left my business card with you, so you have my phone number. Feel free to reach out to me or call the main office at any point you need some assistance. Okay, let's get into the meat of this discussion tonight. We're going to get into the district and board authorities that you have based on state statute and a number of other things. So you have in the state statute what's called express powers. They're lined specifically out in your statute. So special districts have a general Oregon Revised Statute, Chapter 198, that just talks about them in generality. This is who they are, what they're going to, how they're formed, lots of different things. And then there's Principal Act for Park and Recreation Districts, which you were formed under as 266. Now, if you can't sleep at night and you like looking at revised ORSs, they can put you to sleep. I can tell you because I hate them. That's why one of the other things I want you to make a note of, if you go to the SDAO website and look up the resource library, you can go down there and find stuff in common language, like how do I form or dissolve a district? And it goes through a process that's much easier to read. Other statutes that you need to be worried about is how do we do elections? How do we do bonds? How do we do contracts, public purchasing? All that stuff is under those state statutes. And we don't have time to go through each one of those. Each one of those could almost be a training in themselves with the right person in the room. Again, I'm a Parks and Recreation guy. I'm not the accountant, so don't talk, I don't need to talk about bonds and contracts too much, other though there's limitations on how far you can go without getting public bids and all those stuff. You're also have the ability to create administrative rules, how you're going to do business, and also ordinances. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So those, when we talk about express powers, what are the principal acts that you can do? Well, first it tells us how you form the district. It also tells us the board of directors, how many there are, and that and the number and terms of those directors. It's spelled out for each type of district. Some districts say 3 to 7. Some say 7. And there's others that are out there. There's some of these ones that are a lot of governments put together to create an organization under one of these special district statutes that has 25 board members. Now, that's a lot of folks. So glad we're with 5. So I highly summarize this, but again, you can go back and look at 266, the powers and duties of the district. There's lots of stuff there. But if you look at it from a purely point of what's our main role and responsibilities, you have authority to acquire, build, expand, operate, maintain parks and recreation facilities. And you have the power to enter contracts, manage lawful claims, levy taxes, property taxes, and to fund your facilities, operations, and other district expenses. So those are expressed specifically in those statutes. On paper, this is what you can do. Then there's, did I go back one, make sure I didn't miss something? Okay, sorry. Implied powers. Well, there's things that are just implied because you can't operate the district unless you can buy things like purchase supplies. You need so many pounds of chlorine, just to operate the pool. You have to pay your water bill, right? You have to, those are things that are just implied there. It doesn't say buy all the materials and services that you need. It doesn't say it in the statute. It just talks about, you're responsible for maintaining and operating these facilities. You're implied that you can't do it on your own, that you need staff. You can enter contracts and anything else that's incidental to running that facility or those programs that you offer to your community. So expressed, very clear in the statute. Implied, this is how we get it done. You couldn't do it with it unless you just really were able to do this without it everything have to be written down. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk about board authority. Your role, first and foremost, to set policy and direction for the district. That is why I brought this up. You set policy and direction of the district to help fit your mission and your vision, to keep the doors open, to keep things going in the right direction. As a board, you're here to serve the best interests of the community and your constituents. And you know what? That's an internal thing that you have to fill. I can't tell you what that is, but you know your community and you know what is going on. And you have to look at it from that perspective. What's the best for my community and my constituents when making decisions? And we all have filters, right? Janelle's filter is different than Jean's filter. What's involved in that? Where she comes from, right? Policy and direction set by board action must be properly called during a public meeting. You can't be having these side decisions. We'll talk about that a little bit more, the side discussions to make a decision about the board or something for the district. It requires a quorum to be present. And I would take the word generally out of there. Requires approval by majority of the board. There's very seldom that it comes out. I would just go with it, plan for it to be, you have to approval by the majority. And be clear here, we're going to talk about this in public meeting as well. You have a 5-member board. 3 can only make a meeting. How many yes votes do we have to pass any motion? 3. It's not the majority of those present, it's the majority of the board. So that's why when we talk about, oh, who's coming to the meeting, how many people are going to be there? You know, we could have a 4 out of the 5 show, and it's still 3, right? So keep that in mind. All votes must be taken publicly, no secret ballots, and we must now record votes of each member. I saw in your minutes where it shows who voted on each motion and how they voted by your last name, I think. And that is great. You know, we used to always just say motion passed unanimously, right? Can't do that anymore. And the other point here, and I think sometimes people say, well, that's a tough decision to make. We just sort of be quiet and just sort of, not do, but let's do it in secret because we don't want to offend anybody. You're sitting on the board, you're an elected official, you don't have that ability. Everything has to be out in the open. Next.
Sorry.
So when you're making decisions, you have a lot of different ways of doing that. And if we were to, the other piece of this would be many times it's just a motion, right? Let's prove the consent calendar. And there'll be a motion by Frank and seconded by Rebecca, and you'd vote on it and we'd have everybody's name across saying yes, correct? That's one thing. Well, the other 2 areas that we work on, and you've had resolutions before, and I know I'm working up instead of down, is these are statements of policy. When you approve your purchasing policy or your policy for cost recovery, that's a resolution. It's a policy piece. And it governs internal operations. It's really simple. You don't have to notice it other than it being on your agenda. I've seen even some boards that I've been on, one nonprofit, that their advisory given by their legal counsel was that even their minutes were approved by resolution. I think that's too far and it's not required. Okay. And then an ordinance is when, because you have authority to make a local law, requires you to go through a public hearing process. It's an involved process, has to be noticed in a paper, all these things have to occur with that. And those are more specifically dealing with regulations. When I was at Willamette Lane, we had ordinance, I can remember today, ordinance 100, and it was our park rules. And anytime we wanted to amend those or change those park rules, what's the hours of operation? What was alcohol or no alcohol in the park? All those types of things. We had to go through this extensive process that may take us 30 to 60 days to complete. So that's more of a law, a regulation that you can go through with that process. Park and recreation districts do not have a lot of authority there, and sometimes you need to work with your city or your county to help you enforce those. Like if we had no camping in our parks, who was going to enforce that? Well, the only way we really could work that out in Springfield, Oregon, was make sure the city had the same regulation. And then we could ask the city police to come down and evict somebody. That's how we did. Now my understanding is that Willamette Lane, since I left, have their own law enforcement. They have rangers and they go and do that type of work now. But when I was there, you have to depend upon your partners. And that's probably something here that would happen as well. So everybody get that? Ordinances are very strict and limited in what they can do. They're more dealing with laws. Resolutions are more internal operations things. Okay. Am I talking fast enough? Everybody staying awake? This is going faster than the other day, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Some things that I want to really press upon you is that all 5 of you are equals. Nobody has more authority than anybody else unless the majority of the board gives them the authority. If you are going to be the board chair and in your policy, you say, the board chair is responsible for setting the agenda with the executive director. That's in the board policy that was set up that way. That's your job to run the meeting. We can talk we'll be talking about public meetings a little bit and what that might look like. So I just want to keep you all in clear. Just because Irvi is the chair, he doesn't have any more authority than any of you. It's always a group, a majority giving that authority to somebody else. But as a member without that, you don't have any authority. Okay? Well, you have authority, but
Nah.
you're
Right.
not representing the district without the authority of the majority of the board. Everybody, that clear to everybody? Okay. Let's talk about some characteristics of effective boards. Already talked about the clarity and alignment of the vision, mission, and values. Really, that vision piece, I really pressed that already on you. Board members, good boards are also very collaborative and creative with their partners. How can we do things different? One of the things that I really appreciated in my last 16 years at Willamette Lane is that we worked hard to break down silos between the public agencies. That these were all about Springfield's people, Springfield's kids. It wasn't just about when they're in school. It wasn't just about economic development for the downtown. It wasn't just about keeping utility bills low. It was about us all working together for a quality of life and break down those silos. And we became very collaborative in our approach. We created right before I got there, a Team Springfield approach with the school district, the park district, the city of Springfield, and the Springfield Utility Board. And each year we set goals for us and what are we going to be doing, met routinely and broke down those things. I think this is an important part of being on a board. You're not getting this out of the legal counsel. I'm telling you as a practitioner. These are important things for you to be thinking about. I also mentor, when I mentor other executive directors and talk to even Jen over at Sisters, I'm always stressing no secret, no surprises. You know, let's be talking. Let's not hold something back and come and go, I got you. And that goes for the executive director too. No gotcha moments. So those are good characteristics of effective boards when you can really communicate well. And then at the end of the day, you make a decision. And you know what? You don't always agree on every decision when you're going through the debate and you're making a decision. But when you leave, there's been good, healthy debate. There's been discussion. Where are we going to go and why are we going to do it? And you know what? The majority said we're going to do this. And we don't go down to the local, wherever you go and meet afterwards and complain about Janelle because she was on the different side of that discussion. Or I really didn't like where we're going. This is a cooperative group. And I would tell you that these 4 things are very important to being a very functional and effective board. Okay? Next slide. So one of the things that Courtney sent me was your bylaws. It's a good start, but there's already something in there that I saw that isn't legal. You do not have any authority among the 5 of you to remove anybody from the board. They are elected officials by the people in your district. Just because they don't show up for a meeting or 2 or 3 or 4, or they've always taken a different route or whatever, there's very limitations on how somebody gets removed by the board. and the board doesn't make that decision. Okay? We'll talk about that in a moment. But I wanted to get that right off because I think your bylaws are a great start because they start lining out agenda processes and roles and responsibilities of the different officers on the board and all those type of things. There's some really good work there. So Courtney, don't get me wrong about this. SDAO has prepared a sort of a template for you to look at that you could use that is more involved than your bylaws and clarify some of those things for you. And you can go in and you can update a little bit here or there, and so you can utilize that to formalize the processes and procedures that you want to have as a board. It's like, I think maybe it even says it in your bylaws, Courtney, that the first meeting in July, we will elect officers. And the officers' duties are X, Y, and Z, each one different. What the role of the secretary is, what the role of the vice chair is, and the board chair. By the way, I think that in this, if you go back to ORS 266, you're known as board president and vice president. Secretary treasurer's there. Somewhere along, somebody talks about a clerk in the other ones, and I didn't really see that, but a secretary treasurer type or secretary is there. Those things are all lined out. So again, you want to make that look like what is required under 266. It would not take a lot of work to do that. I know that Courtney's very busy, but maybe there's a way to get that done in the next year or two. Bring that up to date. If you want, Courtney, I'd offer to sit down and say, there's a couple things that I don't think you should have in there, if you want to do that at some point. So here's all the things that would normally be in your district board of board policies. Everything from, how we're going to do meeting minutes, how we're going to communicate with media and staff, the budget process, and board member development, training, and travel. Are you going to support your board attending conferences and training at the cost of the district? Are you going to pay all the costs, or are you going to pay everything but travel? Those are things that you can make a decision about as a district. But this is a good tool, and I would encourage you to take a look at it. Next. So when we're talking about that and why we want to do it, here's some key things. We want to outline what your role is. And it's very important for the board chair, board president, when we get down to talk about public meetings, and you're the presiding officer of this board and have a lot of control over how that meeting goes. And if you have in your policy, when are you going to have public comment? Is it at the front or at the end? What's going to be the limits of that? You could do that by policy. The statute actually says the presiding officer controls all that. My recommendation, SDO's recommendation to you, is that you do that by a decision of the entire board and grant that authority to the board president. I like the second one because I went back to this thing about when we're done, we've made a decision, we debated, we've come to a conclusion. It's one voice. We're talking about it as a one organization. Okay, that's what that's really saying. Here's some other things. I'm not going to take it all, but one of the things that I will suggest to you is make sure that policy talks about how you interact with staff. One of the things that you'll see in a slide pretty soon is that you want to make sure you're working within the authority of your position, or you may become liable for if something goes wrong. So if you're interacting with staff and you're trying to direct staff and you tell staff to do one thing, but the executive director told them to do something else, or you thought this was a better idea, and you inform some staff that you go do it this way, and then somebody gets hurt or something's not done and there's a suit, you could be personally liable if you work outside of your authority. That makes sense? Okay. The other thing that's very important here is the last part about personnel evaluation review schedule. You're gonna see this again in the slide. You have one employee. Who's your employee? Right there, Courtney. You need to have a good evaluation schedule, when that's going to occur, and do that on an annual basis. The second part of that is you want to assure that there's a good performance appraisal process for the entire staff. And then you have to hold Courtney accountable to make sure that those things are done. So those are important for you to be aware of as part of your duties, is really making sure you get an annual performance done on your executive director. Okay. I don't know too many boards other than public utility boards, and that's about it. Maybe there are some transportation boards where the board actually takes compensation. But under statute, you have authority, the ability to receive $50 a day. It's been that way. I've been for 25 years at least at $50 a day, or a portion thereof. You have that ability to do that. Problem is, you better have a policy about how you're going to do that and what constitutes a day. What is that? Spending more than 4 hours, or a portion of that? What is that? You have to work that out. I would not recommend it. I know that you're all volunteering, and I really appreciate that. I know the effort it takes to be on a board. I know better now than I did when I first started working after I left Willamette. And you can be reimbursed for your expenses. So, but again, those expenses have to be something that you were given authority to go spend. You know, I'm going to go to a training. You have a policy on training. Says we're going to reimburse you for your hotel rooms and your travel costs. You can get other expenses. That's legitimate, okay? But I would do it by policy. Elected board members can be recalled, but usually cannot otherwise removed. We talked about that a little bit. The public can recall you. They can put a petition in and sign it all and submit it to the county and pay the money or the district pay the money for a special election to have you recalled. And it's happened before, not necessarily here that I'm aware of, but it's happened in other districts. So that is one thing. Here we also talked about indemnity, and the Oregon OTCA is the Oregon Torts Claim Act. You're entitled to indemnity as long as you stay in your bound, stay in your lane. You get out of your lane, no more. And you could be sued for beyond what those limits are now. Now, Eileen knew those limits almost off the top of her head as an attorney, but yes. It used to be where we could get away with almost anything. And now it's, I don't know, $750,000 and then a combined aggregate of 2.5 million or something. That's not why I'm here tonight.
Right.
But there is limitations. So make sure you stay in your lane. Board members can be found personally liable for repayment of unlawful expenditure of public funds. So that's why it's very important to have a purchasing policy and that you follow it, and that you make sure that somebody is reviewing your books routinely. Now, it goes beyond just the audit. At Sisters, besides being the board president now, I serve on the financial oversight committee with a retired accountant. I love that gal because she can look at those numbers and make more sense out of them real fast. But I can look at the number and ask, why'd you spend money here? I can look at the number and say, why don't we have a bigger balance here? She understands all the particulars, which is great. But having that checks and balance in place protects you. And there are districts out there that say, we've done it this way forever. We're going to continue to contract with XYZ person, or we're going to expend funds for this because we've always done it that way. Not if it's not within the state law. Okay.
Could you mention a little bit more about what a financial oversight committee is for an organization in special districts?
Well, for us at Sisters, it's a committee of two that advises that reviews the books with the executive director and advises, works directly for her, not as, she asked for two board members and asked that Peggy and I, our accountant, and I, as board president, look at that.
And
Be
not
on the
your
committee.
treasurer,
Huh?
not your treasurer.
She's our treasurer.
Oh,
Peggy's our treasurer by, as you're set up here. Treasurer, by the way, isn't in the state statute. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have one. Doesn't, you have special districts in Parks and Recreation that have an 80 million, $100 million budget. And then we have your budget of $1 million plus. And they don't have a treasurer on their board. They must make sure they have a business manager, a finance person, and somebody's reviewing that with them. And so our financial oversight committee is just really, we get the close end of the month, about 6 weeks after the month ends, we review that. We look for discrepancies. Like for instance, you needed 2 signatures on a check over $10,000. Is it there? And if it's not there, we take note of that and make sure that that gets corrected the next time around. If it happens again, then we start talking, right? Those are type of things. We also are probably more involved in budget prep and also the audit. Takes a lot of extra time to do that, but it is a good checks and balance.
I think we're doing that. We just don't have that title.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing. And then this last thing is, you can be removed because you're advocating overthrow of the government. And then you have to petition, I think, the county to do that. And then there has to be a special committee that does some things. And there's a lot of detail involved in that. Still not just really simple, but that's about the only way besides moving out of the district. And you have to reside in the district here. You just can't own property under ORS 266. You have to reside in the district. Some districts, I think some irrigation and water districts are different because you might own a lot of property, but you live on the other side of the district boundary, but that irrigation is very important to you, right? So they have a different set of rules. But for us, you have to be in the district, okay? I talked a lot. Anybody got a question? Gene, you have any question before we start talking about public meetings? How much longer I got? 35 minutes?
No, that sounded good. I want a clarification, like when we only have, say, 3 members present and it comes to a vote and that's 2-1, we table that until the next meeting, correct?
You could table that. Yes, you can. That's going to be a decision for you and the executive director talking through that. It's probably the best process because it's unresolved.
Yeah, if I understood you correctly, even though we would need 3 votes to pass when we don't have a full board, even though we have a quorum.
Right. So you have to have 3 votes, and if you end up with 2, you can bring that back in front of the whole board, depending on what the issue is. It's almost feel like I'm being a politician. I don't want to be because it's not black and white. That's a decision for you as you're working with the executive director and the board chair. And again, with your policies, what do you do with that? Maybe it'd be a good idea in that board policy. If we do not have a majority vote, we will bring it back at the next scheduled meeting. That would be a simple way of just saying it's black and white. This is what we're going to do with this. That makes sense?
It does. I just thought I understood you to say it would take 3 votes off of a 5 board committee.
Right. But let's say it doesn't, you could have a separate policy in your board policies that said, if in a situation with only 3 members in attendance and we do not have 3 yes votes on an issue, a decision, that can be brought back to the next meeting for consideration by the entire board. That makes sense?
Okay, thank you.
So I have,
Yeah, Frank.
hey, we have a process that we go through where we have a budget committee of 5 people.
Mhm.
We have 5 board people.
Right.
When it comes down to vote on the budget, do we need 5 votes or do we need 3?
Okay, so in you're asking 2 questions really here, because during the budget committee, right,
Somebody that we select.
where you have 10 people, what's a majority? Going to be 6. So you have to have 6 yes votes out of that group to pass the budget. Would be my understanding of how that works. Courtney's looking at me like I may be wrong. But when you come and approve the budget as the board, has to have at least 3 votes. Remember, the budget committee recommends, the board adopts.
So even if there are not 6 yes votes in the recommendation process, if we have 3 board votes, then it passes.
No, because it's 2 different things. And I would suggest, it's a little bit over I've never seen this situation where, you got 3 yes votes from the board and 3 no votes or 5 no votes from the, 7, that, what do you do when your committee doesn't approve that, recommend that? It may be that you have to get back and negotiate and deliberate until you get a majority vote. So that's one on me that I don't know about that. I never had it happen to me in my 38 years of being involved in budgeting. But that's a good question about the budget committee itself. Is it just those present? Different than the board because you're not adopting policy, you're recommending to the board. But that's a good question to get answered. And I'll do my best either through Courtney or some way to get that answered. Now, next time, would you ask Eileen that question?
Okay.
Yeah, the attorney. I don't know if she would know that one either. I haven't seen it happen, so it's sort of out of the blue for me. Most of the time when I've had this, the budget committee has been almost all majority. Everyone says yes, because we've gone through the process. We negotiated where there was going to be cuts or additions and all those things during that process. We end up in a situation where we're ready to present the board the budget forward. But when you get to the board, it has to be the majority of the board. All right. Fun part, public meetings. So we're going to cover sort of the application of law, some notice requirements, agendas, executive session, and some thoughts on keys to success. Hopefully you are aware that 2 legislative sessions ago, the state of Oregon passed a mandatory public meeting training provision. And what this does is it requires you as an elected official that sometime within your term that you participate and go through a public meeting training that is either done by the Oregon Ethics Commission, or just recently, SDAL got approval to present that training to our member agencies. It is I sat through one at the conference and I think it was 6 hours of going through the rules and regulations when it comes to public meeting law. They're talking about doing webinars and some other things to do that. How they're going to enforce that, I don't really know, because it's all during your term. So you could have a 4-year term and at 3.5 years, you decide you're going to resign. Well, what are they going to do? And I haven't seen anything about how they're going to enforce that, but no, it is a requirement, ORS 192-700. And what I'm talking about today is just bonus. It's going to be so abbreviated compared to what they go through in the details of all those statutes. And why do they have it? And why do we have this discussion about public meeting laws? You guys tell me, why do you think we're focused so much on that these days? Transparency. It's all about, doing government in the light of day. It's really what it's about. Oh, I answered my own questions. Purposes: to open meetings to governing bodies to the public, to give notice of the time and place of meetings, to make accessible to those who wishing to attend. So part of this requirement, I don't know if it's on a slide, but your meeting space needs to be accessible. And that means for those that are impaired, or those that need help with listening device, or those that need interpreters. Those folks, when we know that that's coming and we need to have special service, they're asked to give us notice. But the key here for most of us where we see this is when we have a meeting facility that is not physically accessible to somebody in a wheelchair or mobility prohibited. So keep that in mind. It has to be accessible. In these meetings, there is not a requirement. I'm not saying it's that you shouldn't, but there is not a requirement in state statute that all meetings are open to public comment. Public meeting, there's a difference between a public meeting and a public hearing. A public hearing, remember we were talking about ordinances? You have to have a public hearing about, oh, you're going to enforce this new regulation. There has to be an opportunity for the public to respond to that. So that's a public hearing. And you have to notice that. And you have to make sure that it's in rate paper of certain size and all that stuff. So you can go in and look at the statute yourself, but that's a public hearing and that's a required piece. Public comment is separate from any of that. That's an option of the board. It's just like this work session is about me and you having a discussion tonight, right? There wasn't a public comment period before or during the work session. Doesn't mean you couldn't have one. Let's say you were doing a park plan and you're just doing a work session. You weren't going to make any decisions tonight, but you wanted to have some comments about the site plan. Now, I know that you guys just have the aquatic center, so I'm maybe not the greatest example, but it is that's how you might have it. But you can make those decisions both in through your policy and as you're setting the agenda. The public decision part of this is that you can have a lot of people come to a room and say, we don't like this, 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 and this, and most of the people in that room make that obvious to you, or we're going to make a decision based on that. And you're making your decision based on the wide gamut of things, your experience, your needs, understanding needs, the staff report that's making a recommendation that's aligned with some facts that they provided you. But that's a different thing. Okay, so not all public meetings have public comment. I would suggest to you to go back to that policy and say, yes, we are your board policy. We're going to have public comment at our regularly scheduled board meetings. It will occur at this point in the agenda. It'll be limited to this amount of time and no more than 3 minutes per speaker. Could be something like that. With the board chair having the authority with concurrence of the rest of the board to extend that public comment period. There's different ways of writing that, right? So that you have some authority to move things, because your meetings are dynamic at times when there's a hot topic that you're trying to work through. So sometimes, sometimes it's you only need about 2 minutes or no minutes. At Sisters Park and Recreation, there's only been a couple times where we've had much public comment, and we were just went and let them talk because we never hardly got it before that. And most districts are that way, except for when you're dealing with issues that are tough and debates going on in your community. Then that's where it's good to have a policy and a framework for that public comment. That's ringing true with you guys. You're hearing you understand what I'm trying to get at? You need to set it up as a policy, how you're going to deal with that public comment. And you may already have it. I can't remember in the bylaws if it's there, but you might want to revisit that.
In
Look-
your experience, Bob,
Yeah.
do a lot of people put the public comment at the end after their business meeting so they can actually go over all the information, have their own discussion before the comment happens?
There's a wide variety of ways I've seen this done. Some folks have, depending on what's on the agenda, they will have a time either at the beginning or at the end of the meeting for things that were not on the agenda. And then they may take comments during the agenda talk, depending on what the issue is. Those are things that you can decide what's best for you as an organization. I would find, in my opinion, and what I practiced was most public comments were up front. Somebody wants to plant a series of trees in the park. Somebody is concerned that we're not getting the litter picked up. Whatever those issues are, but they're just really coming to the board saying, I've got a concern or I got a praise, and I want to bring that up. If you're trying to make a decision about how you're going to improve the pool and what priorities you should have, that might be something that you want to do a public meeting about separately, and then during the comment period, limit it to first thing in the meeting. I'm just talking off the top of my head. There's different ways of gathering that information, right? So Janelle, I didn't answer your question as directly as I'd like. I would tell you my preference is to have it up front. So if when they're done, they can leave if they don't want to sit through everything else. So what is,
Did I skip ahead? Sorry.
yeah, that's okay. We can move on. Any meeting where a quorum of decision-making body is present and discussing, deliberating toward a matter of business. That's what a public meeting is. Any meeting of a body formed divides a public body. You guys are the public body. I want you to think about that. This is what in the new public meeting law, they talk about. You're the public body. So it says, anytime a meeting of the body formed to advise a public body is a public meeting. So let's say you formed an advisory committee on should you contract with or look at different funding options for the pool. And you want a blue ribbon task force to look at it. And you guys select 7 people in the community to be that advisory committee to you. They're going to evaluate a number of ways to do that. That has to be posted as a public meeting. Minutes have to be taken, all that type of stuff. Because you formed them and they're advising you. Does that make sense? So anytime you appoint a committee, then that is considered a public body and subject to the public meeting laws.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So maybe it's off topic. Maybe I don't know the answer to
Okay.
this. So maybe they do. They've been here longer. I do not know. So if we have, say we have a birthday party and we're all there, is that a public meeting if we don't talk about?
No, that's a social activity, but don't talk about
Right.
business.
Okay.
That's not.
So we
If you
can do
can go
that.
into the statute.
We can
and
have dinner together. We can do all that.
Yeah. I would suggest that you don't do that routinely.
Right.
Because the perception is,
So
You're
we're
talking
having a
business.
meeting. Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
But y'all go do and watch y'all go sit and you get tickets, you get together and you go watch the Mattress Buffaloes play, the Pine Hawks. I don't know. But you go and you sit and you have some time and you do that, or you have a party together, but don't talk business and don't do it often. That'd be my advice. But even in the statute, it talks about social times. That as long as you don't talk business,
We're good.
policy decisions, yeah, you're good. Okay. Oh, you guys get for a 5-member board, which of the following is not a public meeting? All 5, we're just going to answer your
Yeah,
question.
there we
Oh,
go.
gosh darn. All 5 members meet at a bar to watch the game. 2 members call a third one on the phone, discuss an upcoming district ballot measure. 1 board member emails the other 4 to find out how they plan to vote. 3 members attend a work session at the home of the board chair to hammer out some personnel policies. You already answered this question. The only one that really is not a meeting is going to watch the big game.
Right.
I should have said the Ducks and the Beavers, but my Beavers just didn't look like they should have been on the field last night. There we go. So what's funny is I know all these guys. I was the Lane County Parks Manager for 10 years, right before all this happened. Ellie Dumdye happened to also be a school counselor of mine. So I knew all these people, and they got into a little bit behind the scenes before texts were part of the thing. So you can add text to this where they were emailing each other. How are you going to vote on this? Or how do we keep this from happening? La da da. It was all in email, serial emails. And they were shipping them between each other, right? So that's just the caution when we send stuff from staff to you, don't be responding, reply all. Reply to your executive director. Do not be texting between each other about anything that deals with the operations of the district. That can be called a serial meeting, and you could be fined for violation of the public meeting law. So that's all that. Oh, I'm not going to read that last thing.
Okay.
Public notice is required for all public meetings, must be provided at regular, special, and emergency meetings and executive session. Must be provided to all your for all those advisory groups we talked about. Has to be to public officials of the body holding the meeting. That means all of you have to get notice. I just talked to one district, and these guys they didn't want somebody to be at the meeting, so they didn't notice it to her. We don't do that. Don't do that. Everybody. Include time and place of the meeting, the list of the principal subjects. I talked a little bit with Courtney about this, about how that looks in your meeting notice, and your agenda is great, but you probably need to add, we're going to need to be discussing reopening the pool. And then if you have people that are interested, you need to make sure that they receive notice of those meetings, and the media as well. You're not required to pay for advertising. You have a good website. You've got other ways to do that. You can post it on your door, all those things. I want to clarify that last bullet. Notice must be provided no less than 48 hours prior to start a meeting. Wrong answer. There's three conditions here. That's for your regular meeting. So like if this is your regular meeting night, 48 hours notice. Anytime you're having a regular meeting. If you're having a special meeting because you need to take up a topic that maybe you didn't get to last week and you're just going to have a special meeting, 24-hour notice. So you can write that down on your worksheet there. And then an emergency meeting is, let's not have this happen again. The boiler breaks down and we have to hire a contractor to get it fixed tomorrow, or XYZ. Or there's a major issues and it's a true emergency. You can have that, but you want to give as much notice you can to the people that need to have that notice. And it has to only be for that one item. If you go off topic and start talking about the appraisal process for the executive director, that's illegal. It has to be focused on that one topic, and it has to be an emergency. Okay? Agendas. This is where the board president chair should be meeting with the general manager, the executive director, and setting the agenda. And what I used to do as a superintendent at Willamette, I used to do like a 6-month forecast of here's the major things that we know are going to come up. We're going to be doing this policy review in 3 months. And we would share that with the board. So when I sat down with the board chair, president, a lot of those things were, hey, we discussed this is what we're going to be doing. Here's the highlights of the things we're going to be doing. Oh, and by the way, we have to approved contract to buy 3 new pickup trucks for the maintenance crew, among other things that we did. And then here's all the elements of an agenda that you should have on there. You can notice here, Janelle, this is SDO's sort of thought is comments from public on agenda items. So if you have all your agenda items after this point, you could do that, or comments from public on non-agenda items. I just think it's more appropriate to try to get those folks that want to just come up and either give a concern or a praise, want to say thank you, that they can do that up at the front of the meeting. And that's sort of how we do things at Sisters, and that's the way I did it at Willamette, and it seemed to work well. But there, you've got that. You have your own, I think, agenda stuff in bylaws, even if I remember right. By the way, I don't like the word bylaws for a public agency, because that sounds like a nonprofit agency, right? Sounds like my club.
Hospital.
Yeah, my bylaws. That's why we're talking about board policy. Okay, we got only about 10 minutes to handle some executive session stuff. Executive sessions have to be noticed just like any public meeting. And you can only do them for about, 13, 14, 15 different topics. And they're all under a state statute and what they are. And you have to advertise that you're going to be going into executive session based on that. And that could be everything from hiring your executive director to labor negotiations if you had unions. I had a union at Willamette. So we could go into executive session with the board, talk about what are they saying? What do they want? What are we providing? What do we suggest? We could do that in executive session. If we had, and a lot of that deals with the board delegating authority to somebody to be the negotiator. So you can go in and do that. That's probably a bad one for you guys to have an example that you don't have a union. Real estate transactions is another thing. Sometimes you're going to be negotiating or buying a piece of property next to the pool. Do you want to share within the group? What's the real value of that? Why are we doing that? Is that important? And those type of things. That does not have to happen in open session because it gives the buyer, the seller, an advantage. They know what you guys are thinking. When you might tell your representative, say, well, let's offer 20 grand less than that. But we're comfortable at this. So that's purpose. You can meet with your legal counsel when there's concerns about potential litigation that is filed or is likely to be filed. But you need to have your attorney in the room. Can't just be, oh, we think we're going to do this and he may or may not show up. No, has to be participating in the process. I think we used to get away with that before, but you can't do that anymore. Okay, that's enough of those things because we're running out of time. Some key points here. Again, as I said earlier, you have to publish notice citing the statutory authority. You have to include the media. You have to instruct the media. There's a couple of variations where the media are not included, and that was labor negotiations, one of them. Announcing if and when the general session will reopen. You might only be able to say, we expect to reopen the session at 8:30, but we may be later. You just have to try to give an idea. So if the public's going to hang around, and then reconvene in the regular session to make any final decision. You cannot make a final decision, no motions, no decisions, final decisions in executive session. You have to come out of executive session and make a motion and proceed there or do nothing. It may be just discussion that's there, okay? And you have to take minutes, separate minutes. I think when I looked at best practice on that is more to just record those and put them away so that you could go back to them, but they're not open to public unless some legal reason comes up and somebody can come and tap those. But that I read just in the last couple of days about those minutes, and it's best just to tape those when you're in executive session. What happens if we don't follow the rules? Well, you could be personally liable for abusing that, up to $1,000 per violation. Wasn't too long ago, I was working with an organization that they'd done this several times, and they had like 5 board members. And all 5 board members could have been held liable by the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And it's not fun going in front of those guys. And it's expensive. And by the way, it's your expense. It's not the district expense. Keep that in mind. That's always, people forget that. Oh, we're covered. No, you're not. Unless, next page, unless, maybe on the next one. The point here is that if you were directed by your attorney or the Ethics Commission to do this, whatever it is, then you will be held liable. But you have to have that beforehand, okay? But if you just sort of make a decision to have an executive session that doesn't meet the requirement, we're going to do it anyway, you could be liable, okay? So public meetings. That was all on executive session? Okay, some things to think. Plan the meeting, develop the agenda, organize content. This is review. This goes back again to the policy we talked about, Irving. You as a board should get that information from your executive director in enough advance time, and you should probably set a standard. We'd like to have it 5 days before the meeting or thereabouts or something, so that you have time to review all the information. Your job is to really review that information and not show up not knowing what's in the packet. Staff has worked really hard to provide you all this information that to help you make a decision. And it's important that you do that. I remember my county days, they always kept our time so short in front of the county commissioners that I would almost start every presentation. Thank you for reviewing the information we provided on this topic, whatever it was. Here are 3 or 4 key points that I just want to make sure that you're aware of, and then try to move to what questions do you have? Because the expectation was that you reviewed the data, the information that came out. One of the things that I think is a really best practice for you is if you have questions about what's in that agenda packet, that you're contacting Courtney or who's ever presenting that information beforehand. I didn't quite understand this. Can you give me some clarity? Just call her. And then she can also say, oh, maybe other board members had that same issue and can address that during the meeting. That makes sense to you guys? Review it. If you have questions and it's of substantial nature, call Courtney. All the laws, treat members of the public and other board members with respect. Limit your public debate in these meetings. And I read some minutes from this last summer, and I see that it looks like you guys do that well. There's a lot of public comment. You'll allow that to happen. There's not a lot of debate about what's going on between the board and those folks that are addressing you, which is a great thing. It's great to have a democracy where we can talk and share our ideas, but there's no need to be in a squabble here. It's all right to ask clarifying questions, but let's not get into the value judgments here. That's really what that's about. And then you as a board, as we have talked about routinely during this presentation, need to be cohesive in your decisions and work together and not having those squabbles out in the public. You have your squabbles here. Have your debate here on a respectful level. And I'm sure you guys do. There's no doubt about it. But that's what that's about. Good public debate's good. We all bring values. We bring different things to the table, and we should be able to share those ideas. We covered so much of this stuff.
I'm gonna keep going.
Keep accurate minutes. I just wanted to share with you that these do not have to be verbatim minutes, that these are minutes that really reflect the decision that was made and the views that were made, but they can be summary. And also, since you're taping your minutes, you can refer to, if you, for further review, the minutes are available here. I think that that's a good thing, but you don't have to do verbatim as such. But make sure they are accurate. One of the things that probably the secretary does, we have a secretary on our board that she doesn't take the minutes. We have an assigned staff member that takes the minutes and writes the minutes, but that secretary reviews those minutes before they get in the board packet. And if there needs to be changes because it doesn't reflect what happened in the meeting, or there's grammar, there's other things, then the secretary works with that staff member to correct that and bring those forward to the board. Okay, that's sort of how we have done it. And I think it's a good process for others.
Are we just
Okay, so
57?
high level ethics. Just know as public officials that you cannot supervise or have anything with your relatives involved with you in their decision-making process here at the district. This has become more clear when I was a superintendent with Willamette. My young daughter started working for the district until this law came out. But because I was a superintendent, I was the person, no matter I didn't supervise her, she couldn't work for the district because I had last authority about that. So one of the things you want to be really careful about is if you're contracting with any of your relatives, if you have a child, I'm not saying you can't do this, but just be real careful about how that looks with any nepotism that may go on.
So Bob,
Yeah.
You fired your daughter?
Yeah, I didn't fire her. She got laid off, but she was helping out with special events, and I think the special events coordinator sort of felt a little squirmish about it. Well, what's Stephanie telling Dad after that event? No, she did. Nepotism. Public official may not appoint, employ, or promote a relative to a paid position with the public body. There's exceptions for volunteers for sure. If you have any type of conflict of interest things going on, or you have to expose those. You know who gets away with this? Our legislature. You go up and meet a legislator. Go meet your representative at the Capitol. Good chances, wife, sister, daughter, son, son-in-law are working for them. They get to do it. We can't. Just be aware of that. That's one of those hypocrisies of the way government works sometimes. So go back to that last bullet there. As a public official cannot directly supervise a relative. So in my case, that was because I had ultimate authority. Your daughters 5 years from now can't be working at the pool, Courtney. Sorry.
They want to work at a coffee shop. It's
Okay, that's probably a smart thing. Here we go. Boop. So no financial gain. And if it looks like you're going to do that, you have to disclose. We'll talk about that. You cannot accept gifts over $50 from a source that has a legislative. That means a policy decision-making interest in your decision, or administrative, which means an operational decision. So you're going to buy this truck from the Ford dealer, and that happens to also, but they gave you $50. You know, they're going to give me a gift. That doesn't work. Okay. So if you have a potential conflict, you or a close family member may benefit. You need to state that. You can be still involved in the process, but as you're going through the discussion, debate, all that stuff, you can you need to disclose you may have benefit. If you are going to get a benefit out of this, you need to remove yourself from the discussion. Now, not on the slide, but if you look down in the dirty fine print, if you're short members and you got your quorum and there are some exceptions that are down there, but I would refer to your attorney when you get there. Best is just to avoid it. You guys talked about tabling it something. If it's not an emergency, maybe that waits to the next time. So one of the things that they first talked about when they started doing this was, what if I get this award from somebody? It's really, and it's cost more than $50. Well, that's not what they're talking about. This is an actual gift that is something that's presented to you as a more than just a token of appreciation.
I can accept a Nobel.
Yes, accept a Nobel, yeah. Okay. Food, beverage, you can, Oh, you see that last bullet? It's in your packet. Accept contribution to your legal expense trust fund. So if you have a legal expense trust fund, you can get donations from anybody from that. I don't know how that even plays into this, but it's there. Most penalties are $5,000 per violation. We talked about the earlier one about public meeting laws of being $1,000, right? So just keep that in mind. And again, the district can't cover you if this occurs. Let's go.
Okay.
We started 6 minutes early. Late.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is how we're normally set up, right? You guys got this? This is how you are. Your public is all those constituents here in the district, all the residents, voting folks, all those. Then you're the elected officials, and then the executive director staff. How many staff members do you have? One. She, in this case, manages everybody else. The board is accountable to voters. You remember when we talked about thinking about what's best for our community and our constituents? That's these folks. And that authority comes when they voted you into your office. The board, the district manager, executive director is responsible to you. The staff is responsible to the executive director. Board staff expectations, get orientated, understand the organization policy. Did you do an onboarding for your new board? Understanding a bunch of this stuff, sort of covered it way 30,000 foot? Yeah, good. Be prepared and informed for every meeting. What did I say about reviewing? How soon should you get that? How soon do you get it to them?
They get on Friday.
Friday before a Monday, so you got 4 days. Is that enough time for you guys? And if it's not enough time, you need to be talking as a group to Courtney about, can we get that earlier? Be honest and courteous and on time all the time. It's one of the things that's, I had one of the SDO staff members come to me, goes, Bob, when you're running those board meetings for SDO, you started on time and they got through them like that because you were respectful of everybody. We're here to go. We have a job to do. Be friendly, represent the board positions, understand your roles or responsibility, work with the district manager. Now, there's things for the district manager to do that are very similar. Be prepared and informed for every meeting. That means make sure that you're getting information and the right information to the board to make the right decisions. Provide options, not directions. You know, if we do X, we're going to have this impact. We do Y, we're going to have this impact. If we do nothing, we're going to have this impact. That's important. Provide recommendations, not decisions. Provide organized board pack. We talked about that. Communicate. No secrets, no surprises. If you have that happening during your board meeting, you need to make sure that you have a discussion with your executive director. Be honest, courteous, and on time all the time. Represent the board position. Courtney does not have a right to go out and then just complain to everybody in the community about a decision of this board meeting. We're all one team when it comes out when the decision's made. And then understand your roles and responsibilities. Okay, forget training, a whole bunch of things, but I do want to go to one up. In your handout, there is the elected officials guide that will cover almost everything that I talked about today in a booklet about like this. And you can get it on, you can just look at it online. If you want copies, Courtney, let me know, or I'll get you the right person to talk to, and we can make sure each of you have a copy of that handbook. It's a really simple piece.
I want one.
You want one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, we'll make sure we get those. And there's one other training that we could do with your board, let's say a year from now. we could do what's called a board practice assessment, where you get assessed, how are you doing as an organization? How are you doing as a board? How are you working together? Do you have good processes in place and procedures in place? These type of things. And again, it's a free service from SDAO, and a consultant like me would come and just facilitate and then come back to you after that facilitation with, here's a few recommendations where you high priority things that you might want to do to improve your governance as an organization. Okay. SDAO conference, February 5th through 8th in Seaside. Again, I think this whole public meeting presentation is going to be done by Mark Knudsen, who is a great trainer. You'd love him if you go. He'll do a great job. Questions? I'm sorry. I talked as fast as I could.
We're good. Thank you, Bob. Yes.
Got 5 minutes for questions? Anybody got anything?
Just the one you couldn't answer.
I'm gonna go home with that tonight, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Okay, so let me close with, you guys have big job, and I know that it's not always easy. It's not easy sitting in your seat. And from one person that sits on a board, has been on both sides, I really appreciate you. You work your tails off for this community, and I don't know if you get enough accolades for what you do. But I hope you know that there are other people outside that are rooting for you to have a very successful district. You have an amazing facility, the best place for a pool that I've ever seen, with the views that you have there, the way that it's set up. And I just hope that, you know, through this period, that you guys can get beyond where you're at today and have that place be that gem, that jewel, that hub, a vibrant place that everybody wants to come to, that helps you build a healthy community. I think you can do it. And I hope to be able to come back and celebrate with you when that occurs. So at any time, you have my card. If you have additional questions, feel free to contact me or go through Courtney, and I'll be happy to answer additional questions. So I had talked so fast, but that's where we're at today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
sir.
Gene.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Unmute Gene.
Got it. You ready to go? Okay, so I believe we're going to close our work session at 7:09 p.m. and we're going to start our Board of Directors business meeting at 7:09 p.m.
Thank you, Bob. It took me a while to find the unmute button.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Bob. It's good to see you again. All right, so we've already started convening our business meeting. So it's going to be the roll call of the board. Chair Herbie Dominguez, present. Board Vice Chair Gene McCloskey, present.
Present?
Board Secretary Treasurer Janelle Lewis.
Present.
Okay. Board Member Rebecca Blejo.
Present.
Board Member Frank Maynard.
Present.
So let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respect to their elders, past and present.
For the record, Irby Janelle exited the meeting at 7:12 p.m.
Oh, I didn't
As soon
see
as she'll
it.
come back.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I didn't even see that. I was busy reading. Okay, now we're going to talk about adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have to write down everybody's names who voted?
So it's
Aye.
4-0. Janelle's out of the room.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, correspondence, patron comment cards, emails, or other communications regarding MACRD operations.
So board members, in your packet, you have a number of items. The first is a formal public meeting law grievance that was filed on August 15th. The district's response to that grievance was sent on September 5th. That's included in your packet. The formal public meeting law grievance number 3 was submitted to the district on August 22nd. And the response to the formal public meeting law grievance was emailed on September 12th.
Let the record show that Janelle
Oh,
arrived
and
at 7:13.
7:13,
Return at
Janelle returned.
7:13.
Thank you. And then there is a petition to the district attorney to release public records that was filed on September 2nd. And the response from the district attorney, which is a public records order, which was issued on the 16th. And then a second petition to the district attorney to release public records was filed on September 17th. And I've not seen a response to that one as of this afternoon before the meeting. And that is all in your board packet as correspondence.
Do we take time to look at these? We've seen these, or do we move on?
They're in there. You presumably reviewed them as part of
Yes.
reviewing the packet. So, and
Right.
it's there for public record as well in the packet. And so you can move on to item 6
Okay.
unless there are any questions or comments on any of that correspondence.
Well, I have some comments, but I don't know if I can say them because in reading this petition here, it is completely false in one of these sections here, but this is the one, which one is this one? To the office of the Jefferson County District Attorney, but I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because they denied the request.
So for the way that the petition to the district attorney works is the district attorney communicates with our attorney about
Okay.
that process. And
Okay.
so I presume that he's had a conversation with Ross
Right,
and that
okay,
he'll be issuing the public records order on the second one that has not been responded to yet. The
Yeah.
first one was already
right,
responded to and denied.
all right. Just let it be that. Okay, so now let's move on to the visitors section, public comment. So, okay, so if you filled out an intention to speak paper, we'll have you speak, but we just have to remember, we'll be respectful and we're not going to attack anybody. So if you have something to say, we'd love to hear it, but honestly, no attacks against personal people or anybody on the board. Okay, so let's start with Jim Rahi. And you're limited to 3 minutes.
I got the time.
We have a time.
Okay.
Jim Rahi, 1641 South Adams Drive in Madras. I speak for myself, but I'm influenced by others in the community that I interact with. I'm concerned that the MAC cost me more than fire protection cost me. That just doesn't seem right. And I'd express that to you. From my knowledge and recollection, this thing's been a boondoggle from the start, and it's only grown worse. When people run out of money, they reduce their expenses, and you guys just turn to the public for more money. And I feel that the build it, they will come philosophy doesn't work in this case. My suggestion is to shut it down and sell it to a private entity that can charge as necessary to operate the facility as people would like to have it operated. And I think that there's been an attitude in the community of having a champagne appetite on a beer budget. And that just doesn't work so good. And so I leave these thoughts with you that maybe it'll influence some of the decisions that you make. And bid you a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Trudy Haugen.
Is it still on?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, sorry. I'm not very coordinated. Trudy Haugen for the record. You know, it's been a long and difficult year. I've attended every meeting since budget season. I've written emails that have gone unanswered. And the only time I feel even remotely heard is during these 3-minute comments. I'm a disappointed taxpayer, yes, but I'm also part of a growing group of deeply concerned citizens, many of whom have matched the hours your staff has invested this summer and uncovered issues that are frankly shocking. Now this group hears references of threats, intimidation, and harassment in legal communication, but no one knows that, like, I come to meetings and I get handwritten letters, you know, that make me feel uncomfortable and, you know, I mean, let's talk about what harassment and intimidation is, and the fact that it's probably not just one-sided, but not everybody, you know, so, you know, it's very concerning to me that this type of stuff is now in our legal communication. This right here is why more public members do not get involved, for the fear of retaliation in their everyday lives. So instead, they email and they call and they message to us for their voices to be heard. I've had professionals be contacted that I know, questioning if they're helping me do things. My spreadsheets are too clean. It's just condescending. And it shows a complete lack of understanding. If I've presented something and you have a question, contact me. I have never given any numbers that did not just come from yours. All I've tried to do with numbers I've shared is to show them in a transparent format that you did not receive. Instead of collaboration, I receive anonymous letters, whispers behind the scenes. This district needs to be willing to dig into financial inconsistencies before decisions are made and money is spent. Hence, your 2 accountants have said no to your budget. But instead, you just deny them all. Was that my 3 minutes?
Nope.
Oh,
30 seconds.
Okay.
Sorry.
But I mean, and let me be very clear, especially in how this last attorney letter was, I'm not in support of what this board is doing. And unless there's a major course correction, the only project I will be working on in the future is the recall of the board members, each and every one. If that's the path this minority group that is large enough to fail your past 2 tax levies chooses to take, if the wages versus services imbalance continues and you move forward with even considering closing to the public again in the spring, we may all be forced to explore removal of the district from the tax roll.
Thank you, Trudy. So that letter you have right there, was that a letter of harassment? Can I read that?
No,
Okay. So I don't know if it is a letter of harassment or not, or,
well,
all right,
look
that's
at the
fine.
definition of harassment.
Yeah,
That-
well,
the
I'm
true
just
definition.
wondering what it was so I could read it, because
Yeah.
if that is happening, that's not okay.
I'm just saying that these things happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's not okay,
it's not okay.
and we shouldn't
But
be
it
at
is.
odds that way.
And I don't have anybody.
Yeah.
That's standing up and saying these big words to me or to
Right.
you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have legal representation, though my tax dollars pay.
So
So, yeah, it is.
I just want to make sure that's not happening, because it's not okay. And then if you don't mind, I do want to speak on your numbers. So that was me, as we know. You gave me your spreadsheet. You asked me to look into it. So I went to some of the smartest people I know in numbers, and I asked them to look at it. It wasn't an insult to you, just like you give me spreadsheets and you want me to look into Courtney's numbers. It's the same thing. And now all of a sudden you kind of take offense to it that I'm looking into it. So it has to go both ways, not just one side. And I was looking into it because I'm not a numbers person. You are. You said you're a numbers person. That you've admitted. I'm not. So I was looking for help and I was digging into it, but it was no reflection on you thinking you were lying or trying to skew the numbers. I don't know the numbers. So that was me. So if I hurt your feelings for looking into your numbers, I apologize.
Well, it was just, when you are associated with professionals and to have another professional contact that you
Yeah.
have, and I have several relationships with many accounting professionals.
Yeah.
And I have not talked with one of them about it. I mean, I haven't been creating anything that isn't in your numbers.
Okay.
And all I've been doing is just providing insight. And so
And all I
I'm
was doing
accessible.
was looking. That's
I'm
all I was
accessible.
doing.
I'm accessible, just
Okay.
like everybody else, and it is offensive. It's very offensive.
Well, kind of the same
And
thing.
mostly, what was
on my
offensive
end.
about it, was that they were too clean. I don't understand what that.
I didn't, if I use the wrong words for you, I am
did you
sorry,
help?
I used the wrong words.
So,
And I'm
Okay.
sorry you took offense to me using the wrong words.
Okay.
There was no disrespect. Like I said, I took offense that you were upset about it. You asked me to look into things. I look into things, but I can't look into your numbers apparently. So,
Did you ask me about it? And
no,
they're not
because
my
I wanted
numbers,
to
you know.
go to somebody who knew numbers. That's why I went to people that know numbers.
And I
That's all.
told you,
Yeah.
you chose the right one.
Well, that one didn't
And
get back to me.
whatever you
Yeah,
got.
so, but it's okay. Thank you. All right, Nikki Carson.
I think
Yes,
it's for the
please.
folks on Zoom so they can hear better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Nikki Carson. Good evening. I won't be asking any questions tonight because I'm certain I probably won't get any answers. We have a board chair who claims to value conversation and transparency. However, those conversations are not happening in a public forum where everyone can hear and see what's being said. Instead, he chose to come directly to my husband and I's home. He visited us to personally inform us that law enforcement was called and that they would be contacting us for scaring people, harassment, intimidation, walking around the entire MAC facility, taking photos, and that they have us on film. Here are the facts. We regularly drive by Yarrow, the MAC, and JCMS as we walk at Juniper Hills Park. On August 19th, we noticed numerous cars in the parking lot of the pool, leading us to believe that people might be swimming there. We parked at JCMS and walked to the picnic tables in front of the MAC. We sat there for about 10 to 15 minutes. During that time, no one entered or exited the building, but we clearly saw people inside the building in and around the pool, some of whom appeared to be quite short. As we walked back toward JCMS, a woman called out and asked if we needed help. We turned and I asked her why, if the pool was supposed to be closed, there were people using it. She said it was lifeguard training. I asked her name. She identified herself as Natalia and said she was the leader of the training. I thanked her and she wished us a good day, and we continued walking to our vehicle. After this interaction, I submitted a public records request because frankly, some of the individuals we saw did not appear to be adults or old enough to be lifeguards. On August 27th, following our usual walk routine, the board chair showed up at my husband and I's home at 11:47 a.m. That same day at 3:20, I also received an email in which I was CC'd stating that there was an open case with the Madras Police Department regarding intimidation and harassment of the MAC staff. My husband and I visited the city police department, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and the district's attorney's office. There is no record of any case, report, or complaint involving me or my husband. No officer has visited our home, and we haven't received any official notice by mail or otherwise. This situation, the avoidance of public dialogue, the private home visits, the mention of law enforcement without actual documentation, is exactly why we don't get real answers about who was actually in the pool that day. Open investigation has become a convenient excuse. As a result, board chair's behavior, we decided to have a no trespass notice served on him. This is what the board's idea of transparency looks like, and it's not acceptable. It's appalling to me, the behavior. It really is. I've known you. I don't know you that well, but I know who you are. And I've never considered going to, I don't know any of you folks. I don't. I've never been to your homes, nor do I want to.
Thank you, Nikki. Next, we have Susan Barker.
My name is Susan Barker, for the record. May I approach?
Thanks, Susan.
I have handouts. Make it easier because we don't have question and answer times. And so I have handouts for everybody. I told Courtney a response by next month meeting would be fine.
Thank you.
And there are questions I have regarding the mold condition in the facility and how possibly was mishandled or handled. And being new, I just need some direction on it to clarify myself and possibly the community where we stand. And so I'd like chronological orders answered, and I can wait until next month. Yeah. I also have a handout that I can give to anybody. It's the same thing I gave to the board. Just see what I can do. So when I get a response, you can see what my response is according to what I asked. Okay. So I'm not going to really talk about anything other than I just want to present that. I thought that was the easiest way to avoid any confrontation or any delays, and because I think it's more than 3 months. And this way you can give me back with some documentation too. Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Sheila Fabian.
Can you hear me? I'm Sheila Fabian, and I just had a couple of things I wanted to mention. I was wondering if you ever had anything about a phone policy, because everybody's phone goes off here, and I just thought that was pretty disrespectful. And every time the Zoom meeting comes on, somebody starts chatting, and it's like they're chatting, the people can't hear because they're chatting over the other people talking. And I thought that was pretty disrespectful. And then every time I've attended the meeting, or not every time, but a few times, I've heard the people up here. I don't know any of you personally at all. And so when I'm talking, I'm not attacking anybody personally because I don't know you at all. I think I've seen Courtney once or twice and Irving once or twice in my life. That's it. And I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now, Miss Lowe. You're the one, or Bully.
Leha.
Okay, so last meeting you were complaining that you couldn't believe how people acted and how people were being treated. And I have to say, kind of like some other people mentioned, that it's very disrespectful. I mean, and you were mentioning just a few examples. I only had a few that I heard. And I thought, wow, yeah, I can see why people don't want to come to the meetings either. If people are going to people's houses, and I know my parents' house isn't the only one that other people have went to their houses, and it's just disrespectful. And I have to agree with Mr. Rahi and other people that I think you guys should be recalled, because every time it's been something. I mean, and I realize if you're lacking training, that's one thing, but every time it's something else. And I actually, months ago, when I first started going up to the pool to talk to them, I had saw Courtney that day, and she had told me straight out the day that she wanted the raise was the day that she wanted to shut the pool down. And I thought, does that make any sense? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. And so it's hard for me to even support that, not to mention the fact that I can't even go to the 3-hour times for a local person. And I don't really see any needs. I just see a lot of discrimination about people, and I see a lot of people picking and choosing who they're going to answer what questions. And I don't think that's right either. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Sheila. Laura?
It's already on.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm Cora Hollyman, and tonight I just wanted to talk about the board's relationship with the community and the hypocrisy that this board is treating the community that you're supposed to be serving. In your attorney's most recent letter, he wrote, quote, "This is your third in a series of predatory grievances." Let's think about that word predatory. Residents using their legal rights under Oregon law are being labeled predatory. That's not predatory, that's our civic duty. Predatory is using taxpayer money to pay attorneys to attack the very taxpayers who fund your district. The letter also claimed that this board stood by the executive director, quote, "in the face of ongoing harassment, threats, and complaints, calling legitimate grievances threats is a scare tactic, and it's beneath the standard of public service." The hypocrisy doesn't stop there. The board members complain about the cost of the attorneys, yet we don't mention the tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars that you've already wasted on 2 failed ballot measures. Elections that failed not because the people don't value the pool, but because they don't trust the pool leadership. That is where the real waste of money is, and it's a problem that the board refuses to face. The grievances you've called predatory have resulted in positive changes in your record keeping and even the training that you held tonight. You say you want community support, yet your actions show the opposite. A board member goes on Facebook accusing taxpayers, me, of being the one wasting the money. 2 different board members have showed up at residents' homes. The executive director emails me and Nikki threatening that a police investigation that simply doesn't exist, and then tells her staff, who relays it to their Facebook page, that there are some, quote, "not so good people in the community that are, quote, taking it too far." And when I write this board directly, silence, no reply, no collaboration. This community is always just wrong, threatening, and harassing. And let's not forget, this is the very community that you are disparaging, or the same community that has stepped up to rebuild the recreation program where your leadership failed. The administrative work to rebuild the rec program from the ground up over the summer was done by a volunteer mom, yet it was unfeasible with a director level salary in your district. The new rec program is paid for by private donations, not the tax dollars that still sit in your budget. That should prove once and for all that the issue here is not money, it's leadership and the heart to put community benefit ahead of personal agendas. This community isn't your enemy. We are the reason this district exists at all. People aren't voting no because we don't see the value of a pool. We're voting no because leadership has failed to rebuild programs.
Thank you, Cora.
That's just, but I didn't hear something. Who did you say sent a third letter about predatory lawsuits?
It's in your response from your attorney to us, that it was the third in a series of predatory grievances, the public meeting law grievances that we've sent.
That's nothing that we did.
Sir, who pays your attorney? Whose direction does the attorney work under? It's not mine, but it is my tax dollars. I mean, that is your responsibility. If you don't want to have that direction, you could probably talk with your attorney, review that. It's damaging the relationship with the taxpayers because you did make, I'm sorry, I know you don't want me to speak right now, but you did make changes to your meeting minutes. And those things wouldn't have had to be filed with BOGIC if you had just come out with the changes. Instead, I don't know if you've read, maybe you haven't read the attorney's things, but it's this is denied, this is denied, this is denied.
Video recordings were all we needed to do by law. And that was in the meetings. So the occasional error had nothing to do with the proposed
Violation.
request in the petition.
Okay, and that's been turned over to OGEC and they'll review it. And that's the way that it goes. But if you would have, like, in the first grievance where the voting was addressed, the way that it's noted, if you would have just done that, it would have been a huge step in the right direction.
And I don't want to turn this into
Yeah,
a debate, but I did say, one of the things that you just brought up was that I accused you of spending our money, and I did not. I said that the waves of change requested us to do a legal review on the petition you sent. I did not accuse you of wasting our money. And I would, this is not the first time that you have misinterpreted what I said. And I would
Frank, you
really
said,
appreciate
Cora Lynn
you doing that.
Hollyman, I agree. You are wasting the district's money.
You are, and as well as.
I don't know, you can, I guess, talk about it all. I didn't reply to your comment because there's no reason, Frank. It's okay. You're the one that pays the attorney, not me. I would prefer not to pay an attorney to talk to the DA so the DA can talk to me so that I can change my petition so that just because we can't answer an email with honesty. So that's what I would prefer with my tax dollars.
Thank you, Cora. Anybody on Zoom, Courtney?
We had one Zoom request, and it looks like she's not made it into the meeting. She wasn't sure if she would or not.
Okay.
But other than that, there's no one else that's requested to speak.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to financial reports.
She is there.
Oh, I don't see her name. Oh, iPhone smiley face. Susan is online.
Okay.
Thank you, Cora. Susan, I apologize. I didn't see your chat. There she is. Okay.
Hang on just a second. Hold on. Do you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Can you please state?
Okay. So just tell me when you're going to start the timer and I'll introduce myself. I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, please start now. Good evening, Chair Dominguez, Vice Chair McCloskey, Executive Director Sneed, and members of the community. First of all, I'm just exhausted. I apologize. I've had 24 hours of flying. Before I begin, I want to note that my prior correspondence regarding these concerns was not included with patron correspondence for this meeting, which is a lack of transparency. I'm here tonight to address serious concerns regarding the misuse and misreporting of state grant funds by both the Madras Aquatic Center and Madras Swim Team. This is not a repeat of my last correspondence with you at the last meeting. On August 27th, Chair Dominguez, you stated you were confident both grants were fully compliant after reviewing them with Vice Chair McCloskey and Executive Director Sneed. Director Sneed also assured the public there was no misuse of funds, just good partnering and getting the biggest bang for the state's buck on behalf of Jefferson County kids. Unfortunately, these statements do not reflect the facts. Let's talk about the capital improvements purchased after the program ended. Nearly $70,000 of the grant money was spent on equipment and capital improvements that were not in place during the 2021 OCF Summer Learning Grant Program, including $55,000 for a refurbished slide, an ADA lift, a new rope swing, and possibly a new diving board. These purchases occurred after the summer program ended, providing no benefit to the K-12 students the grant was intended to serve. The grant's purpose was to support summer learning for K-12 youth, not post-program facility upgrades. Let's talk about misrepresentation of preschool age participants. The grant was explicitly intended for K-12 students, yet the budget and reported participant counts included approximately 40 preschool age children aged 3 through 5 outside the grant scope. This aligns with the $7,500 in toddler-specific equipment, including the Tot Docs and $7,500 worth for the MAC toddler program, unrelated to K-12 summer learning. These preschool participants and toddler-focused purchases were mischaracterized to appear compliant, inflating numbers and creating false impression of program success. Okay, now we're going to go on to the Madras swim team's grant eligibility and in their improper use of funds. The Madras swim team lost its USA Swimming Club status and liability insurance prior to applying for its $118,500 grant, making them ineligible. Despite this, $50,000 of their grant was given to the MAC to purchase a scoreboard, unrelated to summer student learning. This is a clear diversion of public funds from their approved use. Now let's talk about Oregon law and board responsibility. Under Oregon law, knowingly misrepresenting facts or inflating reports to justify the use of public funds may constitute fraud or misrepresentation. This situation reflects more than mistakes. Number one, false participants numbers reported, preschoolers counted as K-12 students, purchases mischaracterized to appear as grant compliant, and funds diverted for unrelated capital projects. The board has a legal and ethical duty to recognize these misrepresentations, to hold the executive director accountable, and to restore transparency and public trust. Failing to act signals that accountability and integrity are optional. Escalation if no action taken. This matter is not about partnerships or getting the biggest bang for the state's buck. It's about accountability, compliance with Oregon law, and proper use of public funds. If the MAC does not take corrective action, the matter will be referred to the Oregon Department of Justice under the Oregon False Claims Act and other applicable laws. In my closing statement, the MAC exists to serve Jefferson County youth and families. These grants were public funds entrusted to support active summer learning for K-12 students. Instead, funds were used to purchase slides, refurbishment, a rope swing, possibly a new diving board, and a scoreboard, items not in place during the program. As a taxpayer and a community member, the call to this board is to act decisively. Transparency and accountability are not optional. They are essential to protecting public trust and future grant opportunities. You listened to the SDAO consultation today. You, as a board, you've got to take responsibility for the executive director actions. You've got to dive into the information that I'm providing. It's all public information. It's all on the website, and it will get reported to the Department of Justice. And if you don't act on it, the board will also be responsibility. They will have responsibility for these funds. And that's my closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else on Zoom? Are we good? Nope. Okay. All right. So we are going to move on. Financial reports.
Board members, in your packet, you have the financial reports for August, and I apologize, something happened with Adobe, so I couldn't type into the document, so I hand wrote and then scanned in everything, so it's not as clean as it usually is. Just wanted to point out on the balance sheet that we worked through August through audit items, and we're able to make the adjustments required for our property tax receivables and our property tax deferred property taxes. And essentially on the balance sheet, what this means is that there's about $78,607 of past years billed property taxes that are still owed to the district. And then about 54,000 of those, 54,742 is considered not collectible. And so really the outstanding revenue that is on our asset sheet is about $23,864 of tax funds that are past due. So that's the piece I wanted to point out on the balance sheet. If you go to the next section, which is our profit and loss for the month of August, I just wanted to point out a few things. Property taxes have come in much higher than what we budgeted for the months of July and August. We did have a staff member make a donation of $197 to upgrade our aquatics fitness equipment before we reopen. So you'll see that we have a revenue of $197,000, and then there's an expense down below to purchase that equipment.
Just $197, not $1,000.
Yes, $197. Personnel services was at about 78% of budget. Part of that is we have some staff members who've taken some time, extended time off. And then we also lost one of our staff members to another job. So you see that personnel services is below budget. This is where you can see the aquatics fitness donation, deck supervisor identification and swim instructor IDs for uniforms, licenses, dues, and equipment. That permit that we renewed with the county was $700 and something. And I still am working on trying to recoup those funds from the contractor who didn't complete that project. And I'll keep you posted as those conversations continue. Under technology expenses, we did have one unanticipated expense that
Courtney,
was
real quick, I'm
yes.
sorry to bug you. I got a message that somebody's trying to get in on our Zoom.
Thank you. I thought I fixed it so we didn't have waiting room anymore, but I must have not clicked a button. So I'll fix that before the next board meeting.
Okay.
One unanticipated expense was that the computer that we utilize for our web control Climatech system, which is the brains behind all of our systems, died. And best practice is that you have a separate, we had it all living on one computer that was being used by our facilities coordinator. And best practice is actually that it's separate, that there's a separate independent server housing that program. And then we have a coordinator on a computer. And so we did have to get a $4,000. Essentially, it's like a server, but it's a computer to house that web control program because it runs 24/7 to keep our HVAC system on and our pumps and the boilers and all those things. Our materials and services budget was over by about $2,900. Most of that is in legal services under administration. We spent about $4,300 responding to formal grievances of public meeting law violations. There are state laws around how you respond to those grievances, and it does require that we engage with our attorney to do so. It also includes communicating with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission and some other pieces. So as of this month, we've used our annual legal budget. So we probably will be bringing some sort of budget adjustment in the future to add funds to that because we still are expending legal fees for legal services.
I just want to clarify for the public that that was done under the guidance of SDAO. So when we get a formal grievance, it has to go through SDAO. They provide our insurance and liability, and they require that we contacted an attorney to respond to grievances. Otherwise, we would not be covered.
So that is our month end. And then I also, I know there have been quite a few questions about the summer months and what it costs and what our revenue is. And so in the board packet, I included a July through August comparison year over year. So you can see in the first column, July and August of this year, and in the column next to it, July and August of last year, both revenues and expenses, and the differences. So like I've been saying, our property taxes are up 124% over the prior year. That's pretty small if anyone's trying to look at it here. Facility revenues are down mostly due to concession and merchandise. We did receive funds from Madras Swim Team for using the pool for their practices. Aquatics programs.
Could I also clarify, can we just clarify again that Madras Swim Team is their own separate 501c3, right, Courtney? So that is not an organization that is within the MAC. They rent the facility to use our building. That's who is in the pool during the summer practicing. It is not the Madras High Swim Team, which practices during the winter. I know there's a lot of confusion with the two different swim teams, but that's a private group and they pay to use our facility, and we have them pay for chlorine, power, like all the overhead for the time that they're in the building.
Yeah, it's all included in part of that facility fee. Aquatics programs this summer, you can see there's zero revenue. Last summer, the revenue for July and August for aquatics programs was $37,000. And then this year, not offering land-based programs last year, that brought in around $11,500 during July and August. And so the total difference in income between this year and last year is $62,358. And then when you scroll down and look at the differences between expenses, personnel services was down about $60,000 for these 2 months this summer versus last summer. You can see that materials and supplies is actually up $6,000. Part of that is that we got a grant for $8,000 of furniture and then had to do those one-time technology improvements and legal fees that we didn't have last year. So on the whole, materials and services, if you take out those one-time things, would be down over the prior year. And so really what we've been saying all this time is that the reason for the closure this summer is not because we don't have the budget authority. It's because we don't have the cash to actually pay staff and pay bills and do all those things because of that tax correction that happened last year. So assuming we don't have another $1.8 million utility roll tax correction for Jefferson County, we should be able to remain open, assuming that the county continues to provide a tax anticipation loan for the months of July to November. And then lastly in your packet is the cash flow analysis, and just I've updated it through August with those numbers. And so as of right now, it's looking like we could end the fiscal year with about $21,000. I can tell you, I've been working with partners. We just had a partner from Warm Springs prevention team is buying punch cards from us, about $6,000 worth. We're also working with other partners to try and do that to help them provide opportunities for their clients and their patrons to come to the pool. And so there's a lot of really great partnering happening to try and increase not only pool usage, but revenues especially during this time when our cash flow is so low. Jean, did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Are concessions going to be open again with the pool opening next week? Since that was,
I'm sorry, ask.
Are concessions going to open?
Yes.
Are you guys going to use that service again?
Yes.
And then like swimsuits, goggles, swim caps.
Yep, all the same merchandise. The only thing that we will not have this year is ice cream for sale. The cost has become too much, and we can't recover the cost with what we charge. And that's the financial report.
Okay. Any questions on it or anything? Okay. Let's move on. Consider approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Guess not, we're all on, but I'll say it. Anyone opposed? Okay.
But real quick, while we're on that consent agenda, I really want to encourage staff to shorten up the minutes of these meetings and not try to type everything out verbatim. We have good recordings, especially being down here at the commission office, and just don't find it necessary for even the public comment to try to type that out verbatim.
Noted.
Okay, and we can use the note brief on it, right? Don't we have that ability?
I did check the AI companion on this one, so I'm going to try it through
Okay.
Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Consider approval of second review policies.
So board members, you'll recall that at the last board meeting, there were multiple policies that were presented for first review. Policy 2023-04 public records request policy is just a cleanup of language mostly related to referring to legal counsel. There are no substantive changes in that policy. Policy number 2026-02 is our volunteer policy that we had not had prior to this draft. And then we have public contracting rules and class special procurements, and that will be on the October 27th board meeting because I missed the deadline with the Pioneer to notice that for this meeting. So it'll be on the October 27th board meeting.
Do we need a motion on this one?
Do we need to do it individually or as one paragraph?
You can do them together if you'd like.
I move we approve the second review policies.
All in favor?
So just for clarification, that's A and B, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Second motion. I second the motion.
So I think Jean is just clarifying that you're moving to approve items 9A and 9B.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this is, I just want to clarify also that the public records request policy is 2023-04, which didn't have any changes. We were just reapproving it as it stood, correct?
There are some minor revisions to language, and what it'll note in the top right corner is the original date of adoption and then the revision date.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
So all in favor?
Aye.
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 I have no opposed. Moving on, review and consider approval of the proposed timeline and process for filing a board vacancy position, or for filling a board vacancy position.
So board members, this is the same process and timeline that we've used historically for vacant positions. It's up to the board if you want to make any changes to the timeline or the process. I'm just presenting it as it's been done before. So in your board packet is a cover memo. Tonight, you're considering and approving, in theory, a process and timeline for filling the vacancy. By Friday, staff will have posted that information on our website and will get a press release sent to both the Madras Pioneer and the Spiliai Taimu, and then also promote it on social media, send out an email to everyone in our system that we do have a board vacancy that the board is looking to fill. In this timeline, the proposal is that the application deadline would close on November 7th. That gives a little over a month for folks to find out about the vacancy and then apply. And then at your regular work session on Monday, November 24th, the board would hold a work session to interview the applicants. And then you have the option on that agenda to approve an appointee after you discuss in an open public meeting who to appoint to the position. And by a majority vote of the board, you can put someone in the position that night that would then get sworn in at the end of the meeting on December 22nd. If you are not ready, you want to have more, let's say you get 25 applications and you just can't get through all those interviews during that work session, you can hold a special meeting to have another set of interviews. Or you might say, well, there's two that we all really like, let's bring them in for another interview and hold another special meeting. So you have options.
Okay.
there.
On this timeline, I just have a concern about the 11/24 meeting because that's the week of Thanksgiving. So that might impact who's available to come in person to interview. And I know that I'm also working until at least 7 PM that night. I don't know what people do for Thanksgiving, but kids are out of school. Applicants might not be able to come if we have the meeting that night. So I don't know if we want to move it
I think you're
up
right.
the week before, but like,
We might have to move it, I would think, because you're right, Thanksgiving,
I just don't want it to impact who can come apply in person.
right? And then this is open to the public, correct?
Correct.
So during interviews, the public can be here and listen. And
You already blocked out your interview with us?
what's that?
You did 2 interviews with us.
I don't remember. I don't remember things like, my wife reminds me of everything, so.
I'm married to one of those.
So I do encourage the public to attend those. And honestly, I would like some input when those happen from the public, please.
So you can add a visitor's comment section
To that
before the
meeting.
board deliberates to that part of the work session in
Yeah.
order to get feedback.
Yeah.
In terms of the meeting, it's scheduled for Monday, the 24th. You could move it to Monday, November 17th, or you could move it to December 1st. Or you could move it to another
17th would be,
day entirely. 17th is the third Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, November 17th sounds good to me.
I'm on call, but not until 7, so should be good.
Okay, so I'm hearing, let's move the November meeting to the 17th. Okay,
That's where it already was on the calendar. Look.
Okay. I think I'm clear.
and does the board, is the board amenable to starting the work session before 6 o'clock if we get more than 5 applications?
I would vote for 5:30 again.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, that works.
And then if there's more, I think maybe we should break them up. Can we have a special meeting later that week? Are you guys okay with that? Like if we have 10, 12, I want to talk, honestly want to talk to everybody. I mean,
We've never had that many, so if we
Oh,
do, that
really?
would be a
Okay.
record.
okay,
We've had like 3 at the most, 3 or
Oh,
4. yeah.
okay.
So,
Then we could probably get.
If you're
it
gonna
done
go recruit, let's see
then.
what you bring
We're a
in.
Recruit. Let's tell people.
So Mr. Chair, how about if we get more than 10 applications, then I'll send an email out to the board asking for
Break
a
it up.
special meeting date for
Okay.
that week.
Sounds good.
Um,
And I think there might be some news. I know that says for Becky, December 22nd, effective December 22nd, but
If I am no longer needed, this can be my last meeting
she
that I
wanted this
attend.
to be her last meeting today.
But if I'm required or needed for voting, then I would be here. Basically, that's it. I mean, I don't think I should be a part of the process and someone new. I think that would be kind of a conflict for me to be there. I think that should be.
actually, I think your
Just
experience would be valuable in the questions you would ask the incoming.
I mean, you have experience, you were
Well,
a teacher, right?
initially, my intent was to be here through December. But I know I maybe in the fact that I was here this evening kind of shocked some of you. So I thought, well, maybe then it would be more appropriate for me not to be here. So, but I truly want to serve and work with the board with you guys and represent. So
I think it would be helpful to have the full 5 perspective if we can for new
then
applicants.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I would be happy to be a part of it. I would be, if that is something that you all agree. I just didn't want to do not knowing for sure how everyone felt about that. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Great.
Okay.
Hold on, just a little longer.
I can hold on. I really can. I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve
What?
time.
Hold on. Need you to look at the application.
That's what I'm
In your
looking at
board,
here.
well, so also in your board packet, you have the board recruitment checklist, which is what we follow. And I just wanted you to see that that was a document from SDAO on best practices for recruiting new board members. There's a draft news release that's included as well that will reference the website and everywhere people can go to get the information. And then the application, I just updated the deadline and the position for term. And I did confirm with the county clerk that whoever fills this vacancy would serve through June 30th, 2027. And at that time, the position would be on the ballot to fill out the remaining 2 years of the position's term. So the way that the statute's written is when there's a board vacancy, the person who's appointed serves until the next regular election, and the next regular election for special districts is May of 2027. And then the questions that are included are just what the board has asked historically. Why are you interested in serving them on the board? Please describe past experiences or positions that would assist you. Outline strengths, skills, and abilities that you would bring to our team of board members. And in your opinion, what's the most important role of a board member? And then folks can attach additional information, resume, a cover letter, whatever they want to put with it if they want to. And then it's submitted either in person or via email. And then I get all of those and put them in your board packet, redact out people's phone numbers and emails and, all that kind of stuff on the applications. And then the board gets all this information, and then you get some potential questions you could ask during interviews, but it's not like regular HR. You have to ask everybody the same question, and it's not like that when you're interviewing in the public. Janelle has exited the board meeting at 8:08 p.m. for the record. So I give you a list of questions that you can ask if you want to, that we get from SDAO best practices, but the board doesn't have to stick to those. You can ask any questions that you want that are germane to filling a board vacancy.
Is it possible to put that application online in an editable PDF situation?
We've done that, and it never works out well. What we can do is build a form into our website that people can just type into, and then I get it sent to me as an email. So it won't look like the form here, but it'll have all the same questions and information.
I think that would be good, because when you only have 3 working fingers, sometimes the writing isn't.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do a web form, and then we'll also have this PDF available for someone if they want to print it out.
Anything else on that?
And no, I mean, it's really the board's decision on how you want to approach it. This is just what the district has done historically.
So we don't have to vote on that. We don't have to take a vote.
Yeah, you wanna make a motion. If the goal is to approve it, you want to make a motion to approve the amended process and timeline, because we did change the board meeting.
I move to accept the amended position for application.
I second that motion.
Timeline and process.
Can I second that? Yeah, or does that?
Yeah, if there's no reason he can't.
Okay.
Just for clarification for me, that means that I am allowed to be a part of the interview process.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, just clarifying.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And for the record, Janelle just walked back in after the vote at 8:11.
Someone in labor.
So sorry. It was a 4-0.
Yes.
Every time we have a.
All in favor? Yeah.
Boy,
None opposed. Now we'll move on. Executive Director report.
So board members, just a few things to update you on. The RFP for audit services is out on the street. Proposals are due back October 15th. Went ahead and used the email list from the state's website to all people who are certified to do municipal audits in the state of Oregon. So that has been sent out. Also, we have updates on summer work projects included in your packet. We've made a lot of progress. There's still a bit to do, but have made a lot of progress on a lot of these areas, and we can't wait for everyone to see how the pool looks, and with our new signage that's getting installed this week, with all of our signs in both English and Spanish, with a very well power washed deck. It's the cleanest I think I've ever seen it. You know, all the records, that's probably the project that's been put on hold the most, because I'm the only staff member that can really look at the records and go to the retention schedule and figure out what's permanent and what can be gotten rid of. But we are making slow progress on that. And what I will say is, you know, we're now compliant with having things in locked cabinets that are supposed to be locked up, and having permanent files in fire and waterproof files and all of those sorts of things, which seems silly, but it's important for the long-term health of the district and being compliant with state law. The piece that's also taking longer than we had hoped is putting all of our assets into our new hydro app system. We've got a couple of staff that are working really hard on that. And it's probably going to continue on into the fall, something that we work on the what we call the in-between. So the pool closes down at 12:30, and we'll keep some staff on to help take those pictures and document all of our assets in the system and do the research behind all the maintenance and that's required for those assets, and then come back and work at 4 o'clock for being open to the public in the evening. So we're still working through that. And then the other piece that we haven't done as much of it as we should yet, and we've only got about a week left, is transitioning all of those supervisory duties from our recreation director to me. And so that's something that we're also working through this week. And then lastly, domestic water heater replacement. As I'm sure anyone who's done commercial projects can and understand, it's delayed. They have not received the boiler that we're waiting on. They think that we'll be able to have it completed in the next 3 weeks. But it is not going to be installed before we reopen. I confirmed with the public health department that we can operate without a heated domestic water system. It's not ideal because people are cold when they get out of the water, and then, you know, they go to shower, that chlorine off and the pool water off, and it's cold. We're going to do our best to limp it along like we have been. She's been off basically the whole summer. So we're going to try and hopefully that rest will give her that last leg of energy that our domestic water heater needs to get us through the first couple of weeks of being reopened. Those are all of my updates, unless anybody has any questions.
And it was delayed because we just didn't have the money?
No.
No,
What was it delayed for?
When we look back a year, yes. It's delayed now because of the inability for them to get the equipment quickly.
Oh, okay.
Or within the last 5 weeks.
Okay.
All the schools do their work over the summer.
Right.
So any major pieces of equipment such as air handlers, boilers, water heaters, pumps, you have to, this is not an unusual situation for work that goes on in the summer.
Okay.
And there's just no way to plan ahead for it because the manufacturers don't know what orders are coming in.
Right.
And sometimes they have liquidated damages that they help out with to get stuff done before liquidated damages come in.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know if you commented on this, Courtney, but just I think covering all these things multiple times in the minutes, including like why we had to wait on our audit, that we were advised to do so. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I just want to remind people, because I know this question has come up a lot about why we didn't go out for a new audit company sooner. And it was because we were advised that there were limits on how many people were available. And so we chose, based on advice, once again, from, I think, SDAO or our auditor as well, but SDAO, that we should wait. And that's why we're doing that now and not a couple of years ago.
Well, and frankly, I'm not anticipating we're going to get any responses, honestly. There's such a shortage of municipal auditors in the state right now that I'm hoping we get responses. But if we don't, I think we'll have a conversation with some options for the board to consider.
And they have switched which auditor works with our organization a couple of times now. So there are different eyes looking at our company in the audit. So just wanted to throw that out there again in case anyone missed that information.
The company uses a different internal auditor every time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Board member reports and highlights.
I had a couple thoughts on this section for really quick, but I was just thinking that it might be good, even before we do highlights, to have even like, sometimes there's like an open discussion of the board members to be able to talk. Well, normally we would do it during a work session. So either to highlight things we want to talk about in the next work session before we do our highlights. So if there's anything that like came up tonight that we want to have the opportunity to discuss as a group, we can't, like Bob was saying from SDAO, the public meeting law, we can't email about things, but all these topics keep coming up and this is our opportunity to talk about them as a group, is during these work sessions before we go into the actual business meeting. So if there's anything that came up tonight that we want to be able to discuss as a group, that's where we would put that, is in the next work session, Irby.
Okay.
So if anyone has thoughts on that, that's one thing,
Sounds like a good idea.
including this, well,
That is a good idea.
so I think we should have that on the agenda in the future, like just something before our highlights, like, agenda items for next time for the board to discuss in work session or something.
Topics for future board meetings.
Yeah, and brainstorm that together as a group, because we don't get a lot of time to go over all these topics. Other than here is the best place for that to be out there. I also think that in addition to like an FAQ page on the website for people that are trying to come use our facility, just an FAQ page for concerns from board meetings for multiple, like, things that keep coming up and like how those are addressed, or like that, where to find that information on the website in different meeting minutes, air quality index policy that we're following and how that works. I think folks know right now that we're trying to expand the hours to include, we're trying to do evening hours, the 4 to 7, and then trying to cover some Saturdays and Wednesdays, but that's been a frequent request. So just a place that, like, some of these questions have been coming up in public comment could get put on a different FAQ page that's not for patrons trying to come use the pool, but for community members, some sort of community page response. Yeah, that was another thing. I don't know what anyone's thoughts are on that.
I think it's a good idea.
And then I did have another question for Courtney about the possibility, even though we're not doing rec, that is through Jefferson County Roots. I had a question about different other partnerships that promote health and wellness in our community. Like the Open Gym Friday partnership was very valuable to teens in this community, and I think is something that was a really positive partnership. And then my other question was on adult pickleball, like some of the more like one-off things like that.
So I think I can answer your question. So for programs, for land-based programs and sports that aren't happening through the recreation district, we are working in partnership with all those groups that you just talked about. So the Jefferson County Roots Group did a loan assets loan agreements. They're using all the equipment and products, and we encourage them to send us any information that we can share on our website, on our scoreboard, to help market for their programs, because we want this to be successful for all of the families and kids that we serve. We also got the information from the health department on the open gym basketball, and we're promoting that both on our community board at the pool and then also on the scoreboard. And they're talking about having different community groups come in and table. And so if we have staff availability, we may participate in that in some way to encourage use of the pool. And then with pickleball, I haven't had any conversations yet. I'm assuming a lot of those folks are going to be coming back from being away for the summer, or maybe they're playing outside and not thinking about
Culver
gym space
outdoor,
yet.
I think.
And so I presume that those conversations are to happen about open gym. And then tackle football, which we had worked with a parent booster group in the past couple of years that raised money. I got a request from them to sponsor a Madras team through the Redmond League. And so we sent that money in the form of $1,296 to the Redmond League to sponsor the Madras team. So that money stayed with Madras kids. And so those are the ways that we've been supporting sports. And I mean, we'll continue to work with any of our partners to try and to encourage that, because it's still part of our mission, even though we're not directly providing those programs and services.
Perfect. And then I don't know where it will come up, but with Susan's handout on the mold abatement that's come up a few times. This is like an old thing from the bathrooms being discovered like 8 years ago. The only email I could find about it from a long time back was from Jim Wireman indicating that he had spoken to the health department. I think I forwarded it to you, Courtney, but it didn't have an actual email from the health department. It just was from him saying that. We don't have access to whatever documentation he had of that at the time, but I don't know if we want that to be on some sort of future agenda thing with the bathroom stuff, or where you have that at, Courtney.
Jean, do you want to share what you found about that, or do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, no, I can share. I was going to say that in my board member highlights. Actually, fellow board members, I was able to have a conversation with Katie Russell, our public health director, this last month, and we talked about the AQI index and shelters that were open during the smoke event that we had. I'll touch on that first, and then I'll get back to the mold. Of the facilities she said that we had open in Jefferson County, I believe she said there was 3 during our biggest smoke event, which was the Cram Fire. The AQI reached somewhere in the 170s. Only 10 people utilized the shelters that were open, and she referred to them as regular customers. She did say that the county, their AQI is at the 151. The county, she confirmed to me that the county had at no time reached out to the MAC to open the facility, as they didn't feel there was a need. I'm trying to look at my notes here. We talked about the mold, and she contacted a fellow named Brett Sherry at Oregon Health Authority. His response was the state has no, there are no state certifications for individuals or companies that provide mold testing.
I think that's why it was never an option with any of our contractors that worked on the bathroom. They specifically put in there that there would be no.
Yeah, he goes on to state that there is no reason to pay for testing to confirm what they already know. Their time and money is better spent on fixing the moisture problem that is causing the mold. So the company that Courtney had contacted and gave us a quote of $4,000 to do some mold testing. I just don't think that it's warranted at this time. That we did mitigate the problems when they removed those cabinets and found the mold behind them. And what you do is you scrub it down and cover over it with paint and try to fix the reason why the mold's coming in, fix that moisture problem. So that was Brett Sherry at OHA. So I think we could take another look at that AQI index. We adopted, what was it, 200, I think? And
Yes.
yeah, and the county and the other shelters are at the 151 level. So even at the 151 level in this smoke event, there were two days, I believe she said, that it reached in the 170s.
Thanks, Jean.
Yes, thank you, Jean.
Can I get is the board in favor of taking a look at that AQI policy again and perhaps aligning it to the county and other organizations? Just nod or.
I think we could,
Yeah.
why don't we put it on the work session to talk
Okay.
about it and look at it?
Thank
We're
you.
clearly going to keep having fires, so.
Unfortunately, yes.
I had a highlight, but I already forgot. Oh, no, my highlight was that today I gave out like 3 pool passes for the pool opening. I was very excited at work today to tell everyone the pool passes were back.
My highlight is that I just got back from an Alaskan cruise and land portion. It was exciting and wonderful and reconnecting with friends from where we lived before. But I got to swim laps on a ship in a pool on the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty
It
cool.
was kind of weird because the boat was kind of rocky that day. It was kind of like, oh.
I would vomit.
So that's my highlight.
No highlights? Nope. I don't have any highlights.
What?
Yeah.
My other highlight is that I think with the evening hours, I might be able to lap swim again.
Oh, there you go.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Becky, let's go lap swim.
Okay. If there's no more highlights, Jean, any highlights or that was it? The mold highlight?
My highlight was getting to visit with Katie Russell about the mold and the smoke both. Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely human.
Okay, we'll move on then. Reminders and upcoming meetings. Next meeting, October 27th, 2025. Now, were we gonna move that one to 5:32? Or leave it at the same? I kinda
Oh.
like the 5:30 thing. Maybe
Look at the
do that a
board.
little earlier, no?
I don't
It's
know.
up to-
That's up to people who are working.
I don't know
Yeah.
what day it is. What's the day? Is
Yeah,
it
I
again?
might not be here. I think we might have some vacation going on,
Oh, okay.
so
What's the
Yeah.
date again?
I thought you meant
October
if we
27th.
move the meeting to 5:30.
October, I don't know, guys, 5:30 sounds great. I like 5:30.
I'm not on call. I have clinic till 5.
And Irving, when we're on vacation, it's the power of Zoom. Just saying.
That's true.
Mhm.
That is true, but I don't think I have Zoom on the
Just
boat.
lie and say you're hunting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you all.
Do we want to move it to 5? Did I hear you say move it to 5:30?
It's like 5:30 or you want to leave? this
I'm fine.
at
I can
6?
be here at 5:30.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, if I'm here, I can.
So
be
do you
here
want to
at
just
5:30.
move all future board work sessions to 5:30? Because I think it's easier for the public to access it if it's all the same.
Yeah.
I think it's a little better, especially when I have call at 7.
Okay.
And I can stay for more of the
You
meeting.
good with that? Good with 5:30?
So I'll get an adjusted schedule posted.
Okay. Move that 5:30. I like the 5:30. Okay. If that's it, moving that to 5:30, we're going to adjourn our meeting at 8:30. Thank you
Night.
for coming. Good night.
Good night.
Let's see if I can.
Yes, sir. Yeah.